right. Well, here we are with week 6 of the W Hoops basketball podcast, and had a big week for the Indiana Fever with 3 games in just 5 days. But of course, the big news was the first game. Kind of took over the internet, took over the Twitterverse, had the big fight with the Sun and the Fever. So, what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, well, it was kind of an ugly game. Connecticut um, doesn't really have the talent to match up with almost any team in the league this year, and so they're pretty physical. And the refs were just letting a lot go the whole game, and it was getting chippy. And yeah, at some point, the players just get frustrated, and there were a few little things here and there, but then there was a foul where JC is fouling. JC Sheldon fouls Clark pretty much the whole possession and ends up whacking her in the eye. It didn't look intentional, like she was
No,
going
I
for her
agree.
eye. But she hits her in the eye, and then they call the foul, but then Sheldon gets right back up and bumps into Clark again, and Clark pushes her off, and then a bit of a scuffle ensues, and Mabry ends up knocking Clark down to the ground. And then there's a really long review, and the refs don't really get it right at all, it doesn't feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that was part A of the
Yeah.
fight, right? I mean, that was kind of, but even you could almost go back to that previous game against the Sun, where I think
Yeah.
Clark was out and JC Sheldon was throwing herself around like a football player.
Yeah. She took out Sydney Colson. Sydney missed the rest of that game. Uh, Sophie lost part of a tooth in that game. Like it was,
Sophie re-injured her ankle on a
yeah.
screen where JC Sheldon tried to blast through a screen and
Yeah.
Sophie lost her balance and ended up turning her ankle again. So it was almost like a little bit of a carryover from that game.
Yeah. And then they
And
didn't call it close at all. Yeah.
so
Things
you
got
had the
heated. They
first
end up
kerfuffle.
calling, yeah, in that first little scuffle, they end up calling a technical on Marina Mabrey, which the league later upgraded to a flagrant two, which would have ejected her from the game. Um, but at the moment, the refs reviewed it and just assessed her a technical. They also gave Tina Charles a technical, which I don't know how she got. She was there, but she didn't do anything from what I could see. I don't know why she got one. They gave Clark one because she pushed Sheldon, but again, Sheldon pushed right up into her after the foul was called and it was a dead ball, and Sheldon got right back up and pushed Clark. So I think the push off was not something that needed a tech.
And Sheldon didn't even get a technical in that
She got a
first
flagrant
kerfuffle,
one,
right?
I
She got a
think.
flagrant from
Yeah.
hitting her
For
in the
that hit to
face.
the eye. Yep.
But for the retaliation, the shove, the
No, they
bump, I
didn't.
mean,
She's
nothing.
very subtle. We've talked about this. JC is good at getting away with fouls.
She
She
has
just
been since her days at Ohio State.
Yeah. But I saw somewhere that she's 0 and 12 against Clark in her career, dating back to college. So it's not effective. But yeah. So I don't even know that everyone saw that. But if you see one angle, it's very clear that Sheldon immediately got up into Clark's space and pushed her again. And Clark understandably pushed her off. And then Marina came and knocked her down.
Yeah, and I know
Um,
we're a little late to the party here because this happened, just the timing of our podcast. We recorded on Sundays, and that game was on Tuesday, I believe. So, this has been 5 days, which feels like a long time since that event even happened.
yeah.
But that was even just the prelude to the big event in that
Yeah.
game.
And then, actually, well, one other thing before that, though, I felt like Stephanie White handled it pretty well. Like she left the starters in, but then once they got out to a good size lead, she took everyone out and only put them back in when Connecticut got back to got the game down to 10. She put Clark back in, but it looked like she was going to sit Clark the whole fourth quarter. So I thought she handled it well. Um, but then, oh, go
Well, I
ahead.
was just going to say, in contrast, I thought the Connecticut coach did not handle it well.
Right.
I told, I don't, Mom, I think that if a good coach, if they really wanted to de-escalate the situation, when Mabry didn't get ejected, they
Right.
would have pulled that player out immediately
Yeah. And he
during
left
during the,
Mabry and Sheldon in.
yeah. So I thought that he did not handle the situation well at all. It's almost like they wanted that kind of
Yeah.
physicality and, you know, but a good coach. Yeah, I agree. Stephanie White handled the situation well. I thought the Connecticut coach handled it really poorly.
Yeah. And then it goes on. And then at the end of the fourth quarter, um, Sheldon's gets a steal or something and is on a fast break, and Sophie's the only one back, and she pulls her down. Basically, it's a hard foul. It's a flagrant. Um, and then immediately Sheldon pops up and Lindsay Allen, and they both go at Cunningham, and a bit of a scuffle ensues. Cunningham gets like JC in a headlock or grabs the back of her head, and the refs eject all three of those players who were involved in that, which I think is the right thing. Um, and then Sophie also got a flagrant two, I think, called on her, which is correct.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hard foul. That's not uncommon in basketball. I mean, what Mabry did was not a basketball play at all. I mean,
Right.
a hard foul on a layup where you wrap somebody up so you make sure they don't get the and one
Yeah.
is not an uncommon play.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
And
right to call it.
she didn't clothesline her or trip her or something. It wasn't dirty. It was just a hard foul.
It was just a hard basketball foul. And
And
you could see from some angles, Sheldon went into Cunningham too.
yeah. And
So
in the context of the game where the refs aren't protecting your players, you it's a kind of a normal thing in basketball that to have an enforcer who's gonna, if you're gonna mess with um, the star player, you can't get away with it.
yeah, and I was just thinking a little bit ago after we watched the game against the Aces, are Sophie and Lexi too much of an overlap of the same player? Can you really have both of them on the roster with some other glaring holes on the team that we can talk about later? But I think the role that Sophie fills and nobody else has for the Fever is the enforcer role. Like
Yeah,
last year, as Clark was getting beat up, it didn't feel like anybody was really stepping in and doing anything to protect her. And if the officials aren't going to protect your star player, then you need it for. I mean, it's just you have that in sports. You've
yeah,
got teammates who stand up, and Sophie plays that role. Became famous. I think she was the number one trending person
yeah. I
on
think
Twitter.
she's up. She like gained 1 million followers on Instagram or something. But
Jersey
her
sold
jersey
out.
sold out. Yeah, and it's in a vacuum. A hard foul like that up 20 is not a good look. But in the context of the game, that's something that is understandable or maybe even necessary.
I agree that, the context of the game, the context of the season, the way the refs have been officiating the Fever, the context of the previous game with the Sun.
Yeah,
I literally wrote down, I got my little notebook. I try to take some notes while we're watching the games. I literally wrote down 30 seconds before that. Has there ever been a fight in a WNBA game?
yeah,
Like a real brawl, not just some pushing and shoving and,
yeah,
not like that first kerfuffle, but like a real fight. And it's like, well, there we go. At least
yeah.
I know of one now.
And Stephanie White said she even told the refs in the first quarter that that's what was going to happen because they weren't calling things and tensions are high and it's competitive players. So um, she also said in the post game that everyone in the league has gotten better, the game is faster and better, and everyone's gotten better except the refs. And they do need the WNBA has a ref problem that they need to figure out.
Hard agree with Stephanie White on that.
Yeah,
They've got to figure that out. I've been coaching games where I've had that same conversation with officials during the game. It's like you guys got to get this under control. Something's going to happen if you guys don't start calling stuff because both teams are getting frustrated with the level of physicality. And my strong preference in basketball is freedom of movement, freedom for the offensive player, understanding that the closer you get to the basket, the more physicality is allowed, in basketball. But it just feels like teams are realize they're going to get physical and they can't
yeah.
stop Caitlin Clark without getting physical with her. And so that's been the approach, and the league's been letting them get away with it. And, you
Yeah, there
know,
are some screenshots where Sheldon's literally like grabbing and like pinching Clark's arm, and like she's just getting away with, yeah, beating her up all game. So,
oh, I remember her showing, I didn't know what it was until I saw that screenshot after the game, but I remember Clark going up to one of the officials and showing her arm,
yeah,
like a mark on her arm. And it was where she had grabbed her skin, just pinched her to grab her. And yeah, the league needs to understand, Clark, is a unique player who's really brought so much attention, and this is a huge opportunity for the league, for all the players, to really grow, to gain in popularity. But you know, what kind of product are they going to want to put out there on the court?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So hopefully they'll work on it. I don't know what the answer is, but they do definitely need to improve the officiating and protect players. There have been a lot of players, not just Clark, out with injury or different things. Asia missed time with a concussion. Paige missed time with a concussion. Jones is out with ankle injury. And injuries are part of the game, but
sure.
you got to do the best you can to make it safe for the players.
Yeah, that should be the number one priority for the officials, and it just doesn't seem like it is right now.
Right.
All right, so they as a win, unfortunately, the only win out of the three games is
Yeah.
the shocking Golden State Valkyries are had pulled, well, seemed like an upset, but maybe not. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, they play tough. Yeah, I don't think they have more talent than Indiana, certainly, but they have a great home crowd. And yeah, they just kept chipping away at it. And Kayla Thornton had a good game. But yeah, that's a tough loss. Indiana can't keep dropping games like that, where they're the favorites to win, if they want a good playoff standing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, and maybe we can talk a little bit now about the Commissioner's Cup. Just briefly, Indiana qualified as the Eastern Conference representative
Hmm.
with the win against Connecticut and the Dream losing to the New York Liberty.
Yep.
So, but I think they're in eighth place right now in the league, and they're going to be in the Commissioner's Cup. So it's just kind of funny the
Yeah.
way that works.
Yeah. Um, It is, and it's a little weird too that the way they did the Commissioner Cup this year is better, I thought, where they had all the games at the same time, or like in that 2.5 week period to start June. But then I don't know why the Commissioner Cup didn't just happen right after that, after they finished all the games. I feel like that would have felt a little bit more natural. Like, all right, all these games are over. Now here's the actual game for the Commissioner Cup. But then it's like what is it, like a 2 week pause before the actual game is played. So I don't know if that's about logistics or what. Um, but yeah, it's a little odd. But Minnesota has been playing well, even without Nafisa. Um, they were able to win. So we'll see if Nafisa's back because that'll make a big difference for that game.
Yeah, I mean, with Nafisa back, I think Minnesota would be the heavy favorite,
Yeah, for
and
sure. And it's at
obviously,
Minnesota.
yeah, I mean, Indiana can play with any team in the league, but
Yeah.
yeah, that game against the Valkyries, um, had the lead, lost the lead, and you know, Clark was 0 for
Yeah.
what
Oof.
from three?
A lot. Let's see. It's 0 for 7 or 8,
0
something
for
like that.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you commented, I think, or we talked about it anyway during that game, that she just looked tired. She didn't seem to have
Yeah.
the same pep in her step in that game at Golden State. And so, as a basketball player, when your legs are gone, your shot goes.
Yeah.
And especially if you're shooting 25, 30 footers, it's just going to be off if you're tired. And I thought she looked really tired in the game at Golden State.
Yeah.
She didn't have the same energy level. She wasn't pushing the ball up the court all the time on every possession like she usually
Hmm.
does. And that makes a huge difference in Indiana's offense. They're not getting those semi-fast break opportunities where even after a made basket, a lot of
Yeah.
times Caitlin Clark will push it up and put pressure on the defense and create an easy opportunity either for herself or a teammate. And I just didn't see that, in that
Right.
Golden State game. And I think that's got to affect her shooting, which also led to, I think, this is an assumption I'm making, but another bad shooting day today against the Aces.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a rough night. She couldn't get anything to go. She got some layups, a couple free throws, but it was a tough shooting night. And it's hard for Indiana to survive a tough Caitlin shooting night, especially with Dewana Bonner out. Dantas didn't play today, so I'm not sure what was going on with that, but she'll be gone soon anyway for overseas commitments. But yeah, it's tough when you depend so much on her.
Yeah. I mean, I did think, stretches, and especially in the first half, I thought she was pushing the ball better against the
Hmm.
Aces than she did against the Valkyries. So thought she had a little more energy. It's appeared to me, and her shot wasn't going, but yeah, they really had the pick and roll going in the first quarter, especially between her and Aliyah. I think
Yeah.
Aliyah had 10 points on 5 of 6 shooting in the
Yeah,
first
Leah had a
quarter.
great game.
She had, I think, Caitlin had 6 assists in the first quarter,
Hmm.
8 by halftime. Um, Indiana had, what was the stat? I wrote it down here. 17 assists on 19 made field goals at halftime.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like that, they were really cooking on offense. Seemed like she had more energy. But one thing I think you observed is they were still subbing her out more
Hmm.
than normal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to see that they're giving her rest, but it does seem like she's still not 100%. In the first game back, she was making all those threes. There was a lot of energy. The game against Connecticut, there was like a lot of emotional energy, but then like the next two games here, or the last two games haven't been quite up to what we're used to seeing from Caitlin. So it's a tough stretch to come back and have that many games in a row. So hopefully she can get a little rest and get healthy completely, and be back to normal soon.
Yeah, I mean, this has been what, 4 games in 8 days and 3 games in 5 days here or
Yeah,
something
after being out
like
for
that.
5 games, so
Yeah, so
hopefully
it's
she's just kind of getting back into the flow of things.
yeah, hopefully so. So any other thoughts from the Fever versus Aces game today?
The officiating was bad, but that's no surprise. I think what was it, two fouls against Vegas in the first half or something, and all
Yeah,
on, or
both
was
on
it just,
Jackie Young.
yeah, both on Jackie Young. So that's frustrating. Aaliyah was fantastic on Asia. It's really hard to guard Asia one-on-one, but she held her in the first half at least. She really was very effective guarding her. Um, yeah, I think we talked about it. They need to get more going when you can't just have Caitlin Clark to Aliyah Boston be your whole offense. You need some other things. And you have some good shooters. You got to work to get stuff for Kelsey Mitchell and for Lexi Hall.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the fourth quarter when things looked like they were starting to slip away from some, and they kept doing the double drag screen for Caitlin. And I told you they've got to get something going for Kelsey. I mean, she's an effective scorer. She's, you know, someone who can get you points, get you big buckets, and they did then. It seemed like they actually, after a timeout, they ran a play for Kelsey, and she got like 6 straight points. Could have had 8, but she missed two
Hmm.
free throws,
Yeah.
which were costly free throws, I think. And then, so that's one thing. I thought another thing interesting. The coaching staff made the decision to have Howard uh, guard oh Gray, right? Was
Hmm.
that who they put
Yeah,
Howard on
Howard was
Gray?
guarding Gray.
So I thought, and then put Clark on Kia Stokes,
Yeah, and I
which
said that's the defensive assignment made in heaven for Caitlin Clark because it's not much to do. You can just kind of stand in front of her and she's not going to try to do anything offensively. So
yeah,
it worked
and
out well. But I was wondering, I was surprised that they didn't go with Cunningham more. But I also know that her ankle is still in a wrap, and so I wonder if they're just being careful with her minutes still. But they've been careful with Howard's minutes as well. So hopefully Dewana Bonner gets back soon because that will help.
yeah, they really need those minutes, even if they're not super productive minutes.
Hmm.
I think they need the minutes just to get
Yeah.
some rest for some banged up players right now.
Hmm.
And then Sophie made some pretty funny kicks, like actually
Yeah.
pretty amazing athletic
Yeah.
plays,
Yeah. It's a
kicking
great
balls to
basketball
deflect
play.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She saved a transition bucket probably just with a little back kick in the air, which was
Yeah.
very heads up.
Yeah, yeah. So she had a couple of little fun highlight plays there. But really, I think they, as much, I really appreciated those, coaching efforts, kind of some of the defensive strategies they took. I thought that those were really interesting and
Hmm.
wise and good. But offensively, they just got to figure out some more options and
Yeah.
not just, you know, ball screens, double drag screens
Yeah.
for
Although you should
Caitlin.
keep doing that until it stops working for sure, because they were just getting layups all the first half.
Yeah. But the one risk, here's the risk of that strategy, I think, as a team is like when you don't get touches and shots to other players,
Yeah.
you know, early, then sometimes it's hard to get them going offensively. You can't always just turn that on and off. Some players can, great players can. But I kind of feel like,
Yeah,
you want to get some touches for Lexi, get some looks for her early, get some looks for Kelsey. Then you can
yeah, the
always,
Boston look will be there anytime.
exactly. That's about, you can always go back to a pick and roll
Yeah,
play. So I'd like to see them get a little more creative on the offensive end. Appreciated the creativity on the defensive end, though. I thought that was great coaching by the,
yeah.
the coaching staff. Um, so that's it for the summary. When's their next game coming up then? They've got a pretty tough road trip here, I think.
Let's see.
They got another West Coast game at Seattle, it looks like.
Yeah. And
But
Seattle's been a little hot and cold, but Seattle's tough.
yeah. So,
But that'll
in
be
only two
interesting to see how they
days.
stack up against Seattle. Yeah, so then Seattle and then LA. LA has not been great this year, but they have some good players. Dallas
Oh,
should be a win, hopefully. Then they get Vegas again.
they've got a
But
back-to-back.
they actually, in between the Dallas and Vegas game is the Commissioner Cup game. So they don't have the same little rest that the rest of the league has there.
Well, yeah, and they've got a back-to-back. It looks like Vegas on the 26th and Dallas on the
Mhm.
27th. So they're gonna have to fly from Indianapolis. Tuesday game
So
at
LA on the
Seattle.
26th, Dallas on the 27th. Then they have the Commissioner Cup game on the 1st of July, then Vegas. So
Boy, this is a
yeah.
rough stretch of games because that's
Yeah,
a
they
Tuesday game in Seattle, then fly to Indianapolis for a Thursday game, then fly to Dallas for a Friday game.
yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a tough. Hopefully they can get at least two wins this
Yeah.
week. That'd probably be a victory if they can get two wins this week.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'll be curious to see if they end up picking up a hardship contract with Dantas leaving after Tuesday. They'll be below 10 players again, so eligible for a hardship contract, but I'm not sure if they'll just try to wait it out and keep the money to sign hopefully Airy or someone else for the rest of the season once they have the cap space for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think next maybe we can move on to what were they thinking? And I think you and I probably have the same. What were they thinking this week?
Yeah, just the league and the refs.
Yeah. The whole thing in that with that Connecticut game
Yeah.
and how it was handled on the court, how it was handled afterwards, even
Yeah.
the
Honestly,
Mayberry.
Mabry and Sophie, there's an argument to have suspended both of them. No one got suspended. Stephanie White didn't get fined for bashing the refs, which I mean, she's justified to do it, but you can't, I mean, there's a fine for doing
Usually you
that.
get fined for that. That's right. Yeah, that's surprising. I just don't understand what the league is doing. I
No.
mean, with this whole situation with the Indiana Fever, the popularity and the potential that they have right now to really grow the league. And
Yeah, and viewership was down 50% when Clark was out for 5 games, and a player knocks her to the ground and in game gets to continue, doesn't get ejected, and after the fact, um, gets an upgraded foul that would have suspended her, but then they don't, or would have kicked her, would have ejected her, but they don't suspend her. It's not a great message to be sending.
yeah, I agree. And also you observed in the game today, it seemed like the Aces were playing at not their usual location,
Yeah,
which is typical again, Indiana, especially Caitlin Clark, obviously, let's admit it, she's the main draw, but
yeah,
they draw fans.
yeah,
And the league needs to be smart about what they're going to do with the on-court product. And I don't know what they're thinking. The league
yeah,
just it's not making sense to me what they're trying to accomplish here. Letting the league, there have been so many people talking about it. It's not just Stephanie White talking
yeah,
about how physical the game is getting. And we know that Caitlin's been targeted. Last year's a rookie, this year still getting targeted. And um, I don't know if you made this observation. We watched the Dallas, Connecticut game, and it was just, I forgot to mention this to you. Seeing the difference the way JC guarded Paige as
hmm
opposed to the way she guarded Caitlin. Like she's picking
yeah,
Caitlin up 94 feet, bumping her, being physical, grabbing,
yep,
and she was giving Paige space. She wasn't, and Paige ended up toasting them. I mean, Paige had a really good game, was on the mid range. I mean, but I just, it was really people regarding Caitlin differently than
Oh
anybody
yeah.
else.
Well, she demands it, but then the refs have to protect her.
Exactly.
The
The
players are going to
league.
do everything they can to stop her, and the refs have to draw the line.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, on to some news and notes. I think the big thing we've been wanting to talk about for this week is the upcoming All-Star game.
Yeah.
So, a couple of discussions that we've had, and one is around the voting. I don't know about you, I missed my chance to do double the vote.
Oh
Should have
yeah.
done that. I think that was the night of the Dallas Sun game. Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
was it? We could have doubled the vote, and I just ran out of time because, or was that Thursday night? What night was that?
I
The
think it
double
was
the vote.
Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Um,
just missed the opportunity to double my vote. But we talked
oh yeah.
about,
Voting is open through this coming Saturday. And the early votes came out, and it's not surprising Clark was number one, Nafisa Collier number two. So that was fun to see that Collier is getting the respect that she deserves because she hasn't historically in her career. Um, But yeah, basically the way it works is you can vote for 10 players and they limit it to four guards and six front court players. And basically anyone who's a wing is kind of thrown in the front court. And anyone who's like borderline guard forward, it seems, is being put as a front court player. Um, and then the fans count for 50% of the voting. Players will be 25% and media is 25%. And that'll be the top 10 players. And I think those are the starters. And then the coaches will pick 12 more players to round out the bench. And that's coming up in July, I think the 19th.
yes,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's a tough picking just four guards and then just six front court players is a pretty tough task.
it's very hard. We tried to do that exercise. So who do you have as your 10? If you are going to vote, who are
Yeah.
the six bigs and
Yeah.
four guards you'd vote for?
So Nafisa is my first big. She's been having a fantastic season. Hopefully she doesn't have lingering back issues and can get back soon. Then Asia, of course. They said today in the game that she's top, is it top five in points, rebounds, blocks, and steals in the league?
Something like that.
And
Yeah.
like this is kind of a meh year for her. It's not even
Right.
like her best year. Um, Stewie, so that's three. I have Gabby Williams. I mean, I'm a little biased. I love Gabby, but she's been so good this year. She is shooting the three incredibly well. She's been top five from three all year and like on high volume on five threes a game. It's not like she's taking one random three a game. And she's just a menace defensively, and she can guard one through four. So she gives them so much versatility. And she's a phenomenal passer. So I love Gabby. Aliyah Boston is my fifth. She's been incredible. I thought with the additions of Bonner and Howard, Aliyah might take a not a step back, but just not get as many touches and maybe not be an all-star this year. She was an all-star her first 2 years, but she's been great, leading the league in field goal percentage, really consistent. Um, yeah, just solid. And then I had Jonquel, but she's out for 4 to 6 weeks, so it's kind of hard to put her in. But so I'm probably going to lean Sabally for that, but you could make an argument for NECA too, I think. NECA's been really good, and NECA's been shooting the three this year as well. For guards, I think you have to start with Alicia Gray. She's been
Yeah.
really, really good. Um, then it's tough because you have to have Caitlin Clark in there. And I think you have to have Sabrina Ionescu because she's been really good this year. That fourth spot I'm giving to Paige. A little biased again. I love Paige. And she's doing a lot with not a lot of help in Dallas. And she's top five in the league in assists and steals as a rookie, and being efficient, leading the league in mid-range shots, which is her sweet spot. And just an underrated defender. We were watching the Connecticut game, and Mabry just is making an inbounds pass, and it gets stolen by Paige because she just has good length and good instincts. So I'm going with Paige, but there's a lot of good guards that I'm leaving off, like Cloud, who's never been an all-star, Sykes. Yeah. What about you?
Well, I mean, we're pretty close. I mean, you and I tend to have the same types of views of basketball and basketball players, so not surprising that there's going to be a lot of overlap on the bigs. Yeah, and Nafisa, we think she's the MVP of the league right now, and she's great. You got to have her in there. Stewie in Asia, um, then Sabali also. I think, and I would have John Quell in there. She hadn't been injured. Hard to vote for her right now because you don't know if she's even going to be healthy. I think she's
Right.
going to be out
She'll
for
be out. No,
weeks.
she'll still be out then.
Yeah, so I would have voted for her also. Probably pretty much aligned with you, Gabby, just because Seattle's been good um, and Gabby's just been shooting. I mean, that's been we've been following her since her days at UConn, and that was the only gap in her game was her shooting.
Hmm.
She's a great passer, great athlete, great defender, great teammate,
Hmm.
and now she's added shooting, and I don't know how you keep her off
No, I
the
mean she
top 10
almost
list.
single-handedly beat the USA in the Olympics. So
Yeah, so I would I would have her in there. So yeah, my six on the bigs is the same, and on the
Aliyah
guards,
Boston is in there for you.
yeah, I've got
Okay.
Aaliyah in there after today's game. I mean,
Yeah.
it cemented that. I was borderline on Aaliyah, but today's
But yeah,
game
the
cemented
head-to-head
it
with
for me.
Asia coming out on top on a head-to-head
Yeah,
with Asia is
yeah,
pretty compelling.
yeah. And then Alicia Gray. I've been talking about her with you all year. I've been amazed at how well she's played this year. She's really
Yeah.
stepped up, and she's
Yep.
always been a player we've liked. She just seems like a good teammate, plays the game the right way, plays hard. But her offensive game has just taken a huge step this year, it seems
Yeah.
like.
She should be getting MVP votes this year. I don't know that she will, but guards have a tough time getting MVP votes, it seems, but she
Well,
should be getting some.
she's their best player. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing, you and I have talked about Atlanta, the roster construction didn't seem to make sense getting Griner and Jones. And what were they doing talking with Griner and Jones? And why are you talking about being a three-point shooting team? But all of a sudden, Alicia Gray has unlocked that puzzle, and they are the second leading scoring team in the league right now.
Yeah.
I think they lead the league in three-point attempts, and she's been great.
Yeah.
Then of course Caitlin, you've got to have her in there, and Sabrina's had a great year too. I
Hmm.
mean, she's been playing really well on the. I mean, she's a little weaker on the def. She's more in the Caitlin Clark line of great offensive player, not a little bit of a weak link on the defensive end of your team.
Right.
So that's why my fourth one. This I would differ with you. I love Paige too. We've followed her career very closely, but I've got to go with Brittney Sykes. The
Yeah.
Mystics have been weirdly good this year, and
Yeah.
I mean Area Fenn has been tough, but I think Sykes is the best player on that team. We saw
She's
her
been good.
in college in the
Yeah.
national championship game, right? Against wasn't she
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
Stewie?
2016. Yep.
Yeah, so we were
Yeah.
there. We saw her last college
Very athletic
game.
and impactful, but she hasn't been a huge scorer, but she's scoring
But
this
this
year.
year it's almost like Alicia Gray, but you just don't hear. I haven't heard about her as much because
Yeah.
Washington's not as good a team as Atlanta is. But
Hmm.
I think I would just, have Paige as one of the 12 and have Brittney Sykes as one of the starters. I think she deserves the recognition.
Yeah. She's been great. It's hard to argue with that. The other guard that's really hard to leave off is Skylar Diggins, because she's had a really good year as well, and Seattle's been very good.
Yeah. The one thing I'd want to talk about
Jackie,
is
yeah.
Jackie's been disappointing a little bit though, but
Yeah, Jackie's
still,
hard to leave off. And
yeah.
Chelsea Gray is probably going to make All-Star, even if it's not been the best year for her, just because she's had such a good career, and it's kind of like automatic.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're getting more good guards in the league now.
Yeah.
We've been talking about quite often over the past few years that it seems like a league dominated by bigs.
Hmm.
The bigs win championships for teams. It seems like Asia, Stewie, Maya
Yeah.
Moore maybe being the exception where you had a wing being the best
Yeah.
player on the team. But
But yeah, the
it's
last championship with the best player being a guard was 2014. The last time a guard won MVP was 2009, and Taurasi was both of those players. And yeah,
it's
that's
hard to believe
crazy.
Trossi didn't win any more MVPs after 2009.
That's voting is garbage though. Like you can't put too
Fair.
much stock in it.
Yeah,
She won three championships and six gold medals in the Olympics, so
yeah.
three national.
Voting voting for awards is almost as bad as officiating. you know.
Yeah, it feels very much in the WNBA like there's a predetermined narrative that goes into it. Like a couple years ago, it was that Asia was slighted when Stewie won it, even though Vegas won in 2023. And so 2024, you already knew going in that Asia was winning. And then she went and backed it up and had the best scoring season in the history of the WNBA. But you knew even before a game had been played that Asia was winning MVP that year. And I said at the end of last year when Minnesota was robbed of their championship that Nafisa was winning next year, and I she's backing it up this year, and
Yeah,
it's tough to change those narratives, it seems like, for voters.
it really is. I think narratives drive those things more than they should. And Nafisa got off to a hot start, which
Yeah.
keeps that narrative going, even if
Yep.
she cools off a little bit and,
Hmm.
Asia maybe could get hot. And, I think the narrative is going to drive that. And
Yeah.
I actually hope so this time. I hope
Yeah.
Nafisa gets it.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
what about some other all-stars? So those are, we talked about the top 10. We don't 100%
Hmm.
agree, but we're pretty close. But what are,
Yeah.
well, who else would you think notable people you want to make sure they
Um,
deserve an all-star? You mentioned a couple, but maybe you could mention some of those
yeah.
again.
I think, well, Skylar Diggins probably, Nneka should probably make it. There's an argument for Tina Charles, I think. She's a bucket. Let's see. Kayla Thornton is probably the Valkyries representative for me, and that they deserve to have an all-star. They've far exceeded expectations. I'd like to see Courtney Williams make it. I'd like to see Natasha Cloud make it. Um, yeah, I think those are the ones that stand out to me.
Yeah, I really like the Kayla Thornton and Courtney Williams calls there. They really have played well. I mean, the Valkyries, I still don't understand what they're doing. I mean, they are not playing like a typical expansion team.
No.
And like we talked about before, maybe with the everybody in the world being an unrestricted free agent practically after this
Yeah.
season with the new collective bargaining agreement, maybe you don't have to tank. But yeah, Thornton's been shockingly good. Another person who's stepped up their 3-point shooting,
Yeah.
a la Gabby and Alicia Gray. So yeah, that's a great call. And Courtney Williams too. Maybe, her, it'd be interesting to have a mid-range shooting contest between Courtney Williams and Paige.
Yeah.
Right now Paige I think leads the league in
Hmm.
percentage and number of makes
Hmm.
from mid-range, and Paige has always been a great mid-range shooter. I'd pick Paige in a contest, but
Yeah.
Courtney
That would be
Williams is
fun. Not
tough.
don't do a 3-point comp or do the 3-point competition, but also do a mid-range
Yeah,
competition
but
at the All-Star game.
pull up dribble mid-range
Yeah.
competition. See, it's like Paige and Courtney are probably going to be the finalists in that one.
Yep.
Looks like this year. So yeah, I like those two. Those are really good. Yeah, and anybody else from Atlanta? I mean, Atlanta's got a really good record, and we've only talked about
Yeah.
Alicia
I wouldn't be
Gray.
surprised if Ryan Howard ma makes it just because she puts
She'll
up big
make it.
numbers. But I don't know if Brianna Jones will make it. She's good. Griner, I don't know. She
Griner has
hasn't
not.
played as many minutes as normal. I don't know if she's dealing with like an injury or if it's just they're trying to manage, like load manage, for a long season.
I mean, that would be smart if they are. I mean, Jones, you and I have always liked the way she plays the game, even
Hmm.
when she played for Connecticut, who we
Yeah, she
never
was the only
have
one that was
liked.
respectable.
She's the only one we liked. Yeah. Now we like Dawana now that she's
Yeah.
on the Fever. But yeah, kind of didn't like Connecticut, but always liked the way Brianna plays the game of
Hmm.
basketball. I'd be happy to see her get an all-star nod,
Yeah.
but don't
Yeah, they
know.
deserve more than one player, certainly, with the way they've been
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah. Anybody from the Sparks? Did we have anybody?
So
Kelsey Plum?
Plum probably will make it. It's been a rough year for LA with just injuries and stuff, but Plum probably deserves it, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good call. Um,
And
yeah.
De'Erica is kind of a borderline one, but they have such a bad record. It's kind of hard to justify multiple LA players.
Yeah, probably just Kelsey. Anybody else from Phoenix? I think we only mentioned Sabali from Phoenix.
Thomas has missed so much time, and Copper has only played 1 or 2 games, I think. So I don't think so for Phoenix, just because they've missed so much. Unless, I mean, who would you have? Westbeld, Loxa, Akoni, what is her name? I don't, the little guard that they have who's new to the league. They picked up just a lot of good random pieces. And yeah, I
They
don't know.
did. I mean, I think we talked about that some a little bit last week with Lexi Held. I think they got some older rookies maybe some West Beld coming back into the league, Lexi Held coming in. Yeah, they've done a
Akoa
good job.
Makani is her name. Yeah. Yeah, she's been
Okay.
good. She's averaging 8 points a game. But I
Well, those
don't, it's
aren't
hard to
all-star
say.
numbers.
Obviously, I bet I wouldn't be surprised if Thomas makes it, even though she's missed a
Yeah,
significant
Thomas may
portion.
be a Chelsea Grave type of vote. She'll just get
Yeah.
in because based on past reputation,
Body of
even if she,
work. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All-star games often work that way, so
Yeah.
not a
It's
shocker.
voting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, any other thoughts on the past week or the upcoming week for the Fever?
I mean, just hope Bonner is going to be back soon. Don't know what's going on with her, but it's a personal issue, so hope everything's okay. And yeah, they need her back soon. Ari McDonald has not been picked up by any team yet, so I would guess that they kind of have an arrangement or, an understanding that if she's still available, that they'll pick her up once they have the cap space. So I think that'll be a good addition. But I'd like to see Timpson get some minutes in this rough road stretch here with all the travel and everything. If Dantas is going to be out, play Timpson some, give her a little bit of time on the floor.
Yeah, I guess two other thoughts I have, and they're kind of related. One is Ari McDonald. I think they need either her or somebody like her, like a secondary person who can her own shot and not, create her own offense or draw a double team that creates offense for other players. I mean, they just don't have anybody besides Caitlin, really. Sometimes Kelsey Mitchell can, but she can be loose with her handle, and I don't think is as good of a passer.
Hmm.
Kelsey's good at creating her own offense, but doesn't tend to create for anybody else. And if you got good shooters, you've got Lexi, you've got Sophie, you've got Dwana Bonner, you got people who can space the floor, but you really don't. You only have one person on the team right now who can create offense for anybody
Right.
or create her own shot. So I think Ari McDonald or someone like Ari McDonald is major. The other
Yeah.
point you and I have talked about a little bit is what in the world is going on with Erica Wheeler? And
Oh man.
why wasn't she playing like this last year? They could have,
Oh,
if she was playing like half as well as she's playing for Seattle, they could have just re-signed her.
I know.
She would be the solution to that problem.
Yeah, she averaged like 3 points a game last year, and she's over at Seattle averaging like 17 or something crazy. Uh,
Yeah. So I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it was fit with the team. I mean,
yeah. And she's
who
playing more
knows?
minutes, but she played all the minutes you would ever have wanted her to play last year for the
Right.
Fever. Like it was not great when she was out there. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a shocker. And
Yeah.
just that wanted to bring that up too, because we talked about it is like, I
Yeah.
don't
Is
know.
is Noelle Quinn a good coach?
Hmm. I don't think so, but maybe she's good at player development. I don't think she's strategically good at in-game the tactical stuff that I
I
see,
don't
but
know.
maybe they have good player development people there
Maybe.
because they seem to be Gabby seems to be developing, Erica Wheeler's developed, so maybe their staff is good at player development. I don't think Noel Quinn's good at in-game tactical
Maybe
managing the
better than
game.
sides, maybe is uh,
Low
all it
bar,
takes.
low bar there.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week. Another tough stretch of games coming up
Yep.
here. A lot of travel. So hopefully, you know, if Dantas is sick, hopefully she gets better or injured. Hopefully, Sophie's ankle gets better. Hopefully, Duana Bonner will be able to come back. Hopefully,
Jeff
Caitlin.
White's situation is okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on and just a
Yeah.
lot of games in a short period of time. So it's a tough stretch, but yeah, hopefully next Sunday we can have a little more positive outcomes to talk about.
Yeah.
All right.